Welcome to the Big Fat Real Estate Checks podcast with Marco Kozlowski, where we help investors like you get the knowledge and skills you need to replace your JOB with passive cash flow for life.
Hey everyone, welcome to Big Fat Real Estate Checks. My name is Marco Kozlowski. I'm here with Francesco Galluccio and Gabriel Araish, who is snowed in today. Apparently there's 40 centimeters of snow.
Well, that's the wrong person. Hold on. That's not Gabe's in Boca Raton. He's enjoying the sunshine and the palm trees.
Did I say Gabe? I meant Frank.
Yes.
Frank snowed in.
Oh, man. So,
snowed in.
All right.
He's shaking trees outside.
Frank is snowed in. Apparently, I'm snowed over, and Gabriel is in sunny Boca Raton, where there is no snow. And he is no longer from Montreal. Actually, he's still from Montreal, but now lives in sunny Florida with his family. And congrats on the move, Gabe. Always exciting to get new things done. And it's actually a perfect segue to what we're going to discuss today, which is the definition of success, what you really want out of life. Most people are clear as to what they don't want, but not really clear as to what they really, really want and what you're working for and what your goals really are. And that's what we're going to tackle today. And it's just a very fascinating topic because some say, I need to make X, Y, Z amount of money. Some are about time, some are about both. And it could be completely other definitions depending on what you're struggling through in your life. Some is, I got to get rid of the person that I live with. Some, there's so many definitions of success that it's bananas, but we're going to see how we can tackle that today and help you get through that. Now, if you have not listened to the first 10 episodes of the podcast, please do the first 10 at least. That gives you a very clear understanding of asset-based lending, that the deal and the down payment on any deal that we have is actually the equity that we bring to the table by following process. And we cover that in the first 10. And all the other episodes, of course, are, we strive to give you the best possible quality content so you can share it and love it and comment so we can give as much value to you as possible, the listener. And this is going to be no exception today to make sure you're clear as to what your version of success is and how and what you need to do in order to achieve that step by step. So this all, I guess, started in a conversation that I had a few weeks ago when I went to Jimmy John's, of all places, which is a sandwich shop, and there was a story on on one of the boards, and it really was pretty interesting. I'll have Gabe read it. We pulled it, and it's pretty cool. So Gabe, go ahead, and then we'll comment on. There's a lot of angles to noodle that around, and we'll have a fun discussion around it.
All right, so here's the story. An American investment banker was taking a much-needed vacation in a small coastal Mexican village when a small boat with just one fisherman docked. The boat had several large, fresh fish in it. The investment banker was impressed by the quality of the fish and asked the Mexican how long it took to catch them. The Mexican replied, "Only a little while." The banker then asked, "Well, why didn't you stay out longer and catch more fish?" The Mexican fisherman replied he had enough to support his family's immediate needs. The American then asked, "But what do you do with the rest of your time?" And the Mexican fisherman replied, "I sleep late, fish a little, play with my children, take siesta with my wife, stroll into the village each evening where I sip wine and play guitar with my amigos. I have a full and busy life, senor." The investment banker scoffed. "I'm an Ivy League MBA, and I could help you. You could spend more time fishing, and with the proceeds, buy a bigger boat. And with the proceeds from the bigger boat, you could buy several boats until eventually you would have a whole fleet of fishing boats. Instead of selling your catch to the middleman, you could sell directly to the processor, eventually opening your own cannery. You could control the product, processing, and distribution." Then he added, "Of course, you would need to leave the small coastal fishing village and move to Mexico City where you would run your growing enterprise." The Mexican fisherman asked, "But senor, how long will this all take?" To which the American replied, 15, 20 years. "But what then?" asked the Mexican. The American laughed and said, "Well, that's the best part. When the time is right, you would announce an IPO and sell your company stock to the public and become very rich. You could make millions." "Millions, senor? Then what?" Well, to which the investment banker replied, "Then you would retire. You could move to a small coastal fishing village where you would sleep late, fish a little, play with your kids, take a siesta with your wife, stroll to the village in the evenings where you could sip wine and play guitar with your amigos.
I love this story.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
It is. So let's talk about it. Because the definition of success to the amigo is completely different than the MBA. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So let's, and they're both right in a way, based on what your goals are, right? So, Frank, I don't know if you want to noodle that around first, since you read the story. That
is a funny story. That's a great story, actually. Just to do all that, just to be back to where you started. For me, you know what? Success, obviously everyone has a different definition of success. Mine was, it was monetary, but monetary only for the sake of getting out of something that I hated doing. I used to work for the government, federal government, senior officer, many years, close to a quarter of a century working there. I enjoyed my time there, but I think I had to change over a new leaf, change over the page, new chapter, whatever you want to call it. And basically, if I were to sum it up, I was looking for my definition of success is doing less of what I hate doing. So I started hating my job. I started resenting going into the office to the point where I was even avoiding people and climbing the stairwells. So, it did good for my health, but just avoiding the people, the negativity and all that. So once I start realizing that, I was like, I got to get out of here. So it's my success, if you want to measure it as a result, is doing less what I hate and doing more what I love. And I love doing this. I love doing these podcasts, and I love teaching. Yeah, Marco.
I just wanted to comment because it's doing less of what you hate doing, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to, I want to move towards what I love and what my passions are, which you ended with, which is great. But we all know what we don't like. But what do you really enjoy? Because I know real estate is not a passion of mine. It's a means to an end. It gives me the cash flow that I need in order to do what I absolutely love, right? And in the story, the guy already had everything that he wanted, so he was already successful. He didn't have to do any more. He was already exactly where he needed to be. And he was clear on that based on the story, right? Where the banker, his vision was to make as much money as possible to retire because that's something he doesn't have, right? And I know, Gabe, your visions are not necessarily monetarily based because you're taken care of through the real estate that you have, and Frank as well. Frank was driven by, I don't want this anymore and I need change, right? And then he was looking and sniffing for, I guess, new cheese. If you've read Who Moved My Cheese, he needed a way to accomplish not doing what he wants, to do that anymore. But I think there's a caveat to that, Frank, in that you wanted the same or more money not doing what you were doing now.
It was definitely more. Yeah, there was definitely more. I was tired of getting paid for the hours I was putting in, and going back to what you just said, definitely was monetarily. But I was looking for a vehicle that would get me out of something that I hate doing and into something that I enjoy doing. And I guess if you want to call it the byproduct will be, can I still take care of my family and my lifestyle that I wanted by using that vehicle? And this vehicle was real estate that I found.
Right. But if your passion was putting Legos together and you were going to starve to death doing that, you wouldn't be doing that at the same time, right?
No, unless I became a master builder, and made lots of money. But no, you would still need a vehicle to follow your passion. So whatever vehicle that is for everyone. For me, is initially the vehicle was the government to get me to a certain stage, and Correct. Then when I got to that objective, I was like, okay, now what? Like in the story, do you go up the corporate ladder? Many people do that. It says, okay, once you get to the manager position or the director or whatever, then what? Your needs are going to change. You're going to want more, or you're going to, it's not what you expected. You're like, okay, I'm up on the corporate ladder, but now I have no time because I'm more involved, right? And that's what I didn't want. And that was the only way for me to grow in the government. I had to become into management, and management of the government is like babysitting. It's a lot of HR stuff. He did that, grievances. I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to get out of something that I hated doing and get into something that can still sustain my lifestyle and support my family and do what I love, or do what I enjoy doing. And that's real estate. And some people, my wife she's not a fan of real estate. She knows the importance of getting the real estate as a vehicle so she could do what she wants. All right. So a lot of people do that. A lot of successful people do real estate so they can get that passive income, so they can do whatever their passion is. Maybe, be in a small village and doing fiesta time with their wives or their significant other. But if that's what
the important part is that that's your definition of success, and that belongs to Frank. It's not going to be the same one for Marco, for myself, and all that. For me, it's kind of refreshing to hear the story about the Mexican fisherman and the American MBA, because I kind of learned this at a younger age through an actual exchange with another human who kind of demonstrated this to me. I was still in university. I was in the education programs. This is before I even got into accounting. And, I think I always had this entrepreneurial, if you want, fiber in me. And I was doing, some multi-level marketing. I was affiliated with a company, and I started with MLM. And here I was talking to all my friends, because that's kind of what you do. And, this girl that was in my class, I started talking to her, and to me, it made so much sense. Like, why would you not do this? I mean, you're a student, you're going into a profession that's probably never going to get you, anywhere near money. Sadly, I think teachers are severely underpaid, but nevertheless, that's something that she was going towards. And after a few back and forth, she told me straight, she goes, Gab, that's not what makes me happy. She goes, I don't care about the money. She goes, if I have my little house and my, 10-year-old car that's still functioning with my family, that's what makes me happy. And that's where it kind of clicked for me, that what her definition of what success was to her is totally different than what the definition of success at that time was for me. Because even for me, the definition of success evolved as I grew older, as people entered my life, people exited my life. My success definition kept changing, and it's still changing today, because my definition of success up until 3 years ago was for me to quit my job. Was like, when I can live off myself and my efforts, then I would be considered successful, and I've achieved that. So now my next definition of success, I need a kind of a new objective, and that's changed as well. So now I get to work towards that goal using, my knowledge and the current resources I have in order to achieve that next step. So I think the main part here is it's absolutely normal for you to have your own success definition, and it's okay that it's not the same as everyone else. What's important, though, is to be able to surround yourself with people who have similar success definitions in order to help each other achieve those goals. And I think that's where, even when you're controlling who's in your entourage and who's going to be part of your immediate kind of circle versus who's not going to be in that immediate circle, I think this is where understanding your differences with respect to your definitions of success or objectives or life goals, that's what's going to help you achieve them, is by putting the right people in your entourage that have similar goals. They don't have to be exactly the same, but they have to be going in the same direction. Case in point, me being in the circle of this girl who was content with having just, a small home and a small beat up car that was functioning, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with her goal. It's just that there would be no benefit to her for me being in her immediate circle at that time. And vice versa, where there would be, we could be friends, but there's nothing she can teach me in order to reach my success goals, because she's going in a totally different direction, which again is okay. There's nothing wrong with the directions that they take. It's just important for you to understand these things. Like, I could have, had she not told me this, I could have just kept pitching her for like 2-3 years. And I would have always hit a wall without knowing why. But I'm so grateful that she's told me this, because it taught me this valuable lesson, and now I understand that this is something I need to know before I discuss something with someone. Is what's your objective? What's your definition of success in life?
I think your objectives and the people around you and your goals and your definition of success. I'm sure you've heard this before. Things are either for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So you can have a seasonal goal, which was in Frank's case, I want to work for the government. This is what I want. In your case, I want to be, work for an accounting firm, and I love numbers. And that was your at first your lifetime goal, right? And then you realize it's actually a seasonal goal. Or there was a reason that you did this, so you could do something else that was going to be seasonal that will eventually get through your lifetime. Or a circle of friends also I have different friends that are, fun friends that I can go out with, but we don't discuss business at all because our definition of success is completely different. If they work 9 to 5, they're great guys, but that's it. They fill a void in me of that fun human that I want to surround myself with. So they're seasonal and reasonal, right? If that makes sense. And it's good to know, I believe everyone should have a checks and balances. I'd say either monthly or yearly as to what your goals are. And are you going in that right direction? Are you having the right behavior to achieve those goals? And are they reasonable goals that you can, with milestones that you can achieve very, very quickly and easily? Or you'll get very disappointed very quickly. So, yeah, because sorry, go ahead, Frank.
Okay. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that in the story, Gabe shared. I don't know if you want to share it. That you're more in the banker because it's not necessarily the money that you're after. It's the process of building and selling something. So I don't know if you want to speak to that, Gabe.
Yeah, sure. So like for me, I grew up in the financial world. I was in a CPA. I would actually audit public and private companies. So for me, there was always this, glamour, if you will, or there's just something that attracted me to this exiting a corporation or exiting a project. And by exit, I mean just selling off a business at a massive multiple. I think that's something that's always been part of me where I wanted to be part of that type of situation. And so, but in the fisherman story, there wasn't that paragraph of, what do you do all day? And it's, sipping drinks with my amigos or hanging out with my wife and all that. My wife's still working, my kids are in school. So even though I do spend probably more time with my children and my wife and my family than the average Joe, it's not the immediate goal. The goal is to spend time with them. And I do that already. So that's achieved, but that's not the major goal. So for me, it's like I haven't reached my ultimate goal, which is to, one day exit out of a scalable business. And I know I'm working towards that. And I think we now have a clear path of how that's going to get done. It's going to take a little bit of time, probably less than, most people will take just because we have a good plan. But like, that's something that I want to do. And for me, that's a major milestone in my success definition. And that's why I have to also be surrounded by individuals who either have done this before, are striving for the same goal, or going the same direction, have the same objectives. And I try and include these individuals in my immediate circle so that we can grow together and hopefully all exit somewhere somehow, or maybe work together into an exit. So for me, this is extremely important. And, will I achieve it? I think so. Is it a guarantee? Absolutely not. That's the fun part, is the journey. But that's what I work towards every day. A little part of me works towards that every single day, and I'm happy with that. But I do know that what the result of that exit's going to be and how that's going to impact my family and myself is exactly where we want to be at that time. So again, I'm very content now, but my objectives have changed after reaching certain goals and successes.
So the objective, your definition of success is the building and exiting, and the byproduct will be the money.
Correct. Versus,
I need this amount of money in order to do whatever I want to do. Because what you want to do is exactly the build and the sell. So
yes.
You're aligned with that. Excuse me. And one of the things that we're going to be discussing in our next podcast is, choosing the people around you to go into the same direction. Right? Because if your objective is to build something and exit, and the person that you're working with to help you build it never wants to sell, they want to keep it forever and pass it down generationally to their kids, and they want to build something, you're setting yourself up for no success for both of you, because you're both not aligned in what you want to accomplish in your life. Right? So, Frank, I haven't heard you this quiet since the 60s.
No, I was gravitated to Gabe's voice and his story. But you know what? In the end, everyone's going to have goals, and those goals are going to change. And mine did. And the only thing I do regret is if you are going to set goals, I know you had, like Marco, you alluded to seasonal goals. Mine was more than a season. with the government. I only got into the government because I had that entrepreneur spirit. My dad was an entrepreneur, and my grandfather was an entrepreneur. So I wanted to get into that. I just used the government, honestly, as a stepping stone. That was the goal. Let me get into the government so I can get into the house that I want to with my wife, Linda. And from there, I'm gonna save some money up so I can grow a business. And I do have business up in Canada. I have a legal business that was very successful, but it took a lot of time to get there. When I could have probably just aligned myself with someone else that had similar goals to be an entrepreneur and just shortcut that. So just be very careful when you are setting your goal. Just look at, is this a seasonal goal? And I like what you said, Marco. Is it a seasonal goal to get you something else? And if it is a seasonal goal, is there someone else that you can align your objectives with that you can fast forward to that? And that's what I regret. It was 24 years out of my life with the government. Like I said, I didn't hate all 24 years. I think the last 5 or 6, I think I overstayed my welcome and I wanted more. And I know I was capped at a government job. And most people that do have a job, you are capped. Yes, you may get that modest increase every year on your collective bargaining, 2%, 1%, 3%, whatever it is. In the end, you can foresee what you're going to be earning in 5-10 years. And if that's okay with you, if that's your goal, then that's great. That wasn't mine. I wanted more.
I think there's something that we can have a whole podcast on, is you knew that you want to change, but you took 5 years to make that decision, right? So how do we pivot quicker so you don't lose that 5 years of time?
Are you asking me?
No, I think we can. Oh. I think that's a topic that we can have a lot of fun with, because in a lot of things that I've done, at first it took me 3 years to make a decision that I didn't want to be in this situation anymore. And the next time it took me 2 years, and the next time it took me 1 year. And now instantly, if I don't like something, I pivot immediately. So that that time has been shortcutted through painful lessons. But I think those are lessons that you don't have to learn yourself. You can have someone sort of give you a matrix on that. And because Gabe, you did the same thing. There was a pressure cooker that happens, and at one point I just can't take it anymore. That's how divorce happens, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like one day we love each other, the next day we're getting divorced. There's pressure that mounts. There's things that happen within that, and there are markers. And too many people stay in the same job or situation or circle of friends, or they torture themselves to not make a decision, and you're just wasting time, because if you don't do something about something, nothing's going to happen.
It's like when you're an employer, right? They say hire slowly, fire fast.
Fire quickly, exactly. But you got, that's a whole other topic that we can.
But it's the same approach, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So is it aligned with your success definition? And if it's not, you have to pivot quickly, which we can discuss in another. There's 2 topics now: how to pick the partners in order to align yourself with the right successes, which is what you had just discussed earlier, and how to pivot quickly. I think it would be 2 really good topics that we can tackle moving forward. But yeah. So what's your definition of success? Is there's money, there's lifestyle, there's time, there's health, which is something that we all I think could do better. I think if generally very successful people don't take care of their health as much as they should generally. I see that a lot. Very, unhealthy, wealthy people, which doesn't serve you, because wealth is health. There's just so many check marks and balances. Whatever your definition is, you should be very clear as to what that looks like, short term, for season, reason, or lifetime. I think it's important.
It could also be a combination of these things. It doesn't have to be just one of these items.
100%.
So combination, and then just have a plan of how to get there.
But you should have separate goals for everything. Your health you should have a goal for your health. You should have a goal for your relationships, or your marriage life. You should have a goal with, in terms of lifestyle. You should have not just one goal. Yes, there may be an ultimate goal, but you got to also look at it individually in your whole life.
But that's up to them.
Spiritual goal and how they all dovetail together.
Goal, there you go.
And how they all dovetail together. If you have 2 different beliefs. I know many couples that have phenomenal relationships, and they're completely different religions, and they make it work because at the end of the day, their values are aligned. So that comes back to picking your partners, right? But also they're aligned in their definition of success because they're doing well because they're working together towards a common project. So it's a very interesting topic. I think we could discuss this, for hours and hours and hours. But as a listener, we don't want to bore you with, our shitty stories. We not that my shitty stories, I should say, because your stories are great and mine are maybe not as good as yours. All good. So the objective here is really think about not what you don't want, because that's easy. I don't want this. I don't want that. I know so many people, and even Frank said, this is what I don't want, but what do you really want? And then he said, okay, this is my passion. I'm going towards that. I'm really glad that you ended with that, because if you don't know what you want, how the hell will you ever get it?
Yeah, listen, I had a different thought process on that, and a lot of these things were weighing down on me. And that's initially your initial thoughts is like, shit, I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to do this no more. From a negative perspective, which ultimately gave me, okay, what do I want to do? So it led me in the same direction. I just took a different path.
And it's what you don't want. It starts with, I don't want this anymore.
Yeah, you need that trigger.
You need that pressure cooker that this is not acceptable, but you can't focus on what's not acceptable. You immediately have to focus on, what do I really want?
Well, that's the pivot. Yeah.
Correct. And that we can have a podcast on that, I think. So anyway, any additions to?
I think we nailed this, man.
I think so. Yeah. And again, guys, if this gave you value, please like it, love it, share it. We always want to add as much value to humans as possible and contribute to your wild success. There's an abundance of money and abundance. There's no limit to how much money you can make and how successful you can be. And success begets success. And we just want to see your success for not only 2022, but all years moving forward, so you can take care of your family, have an amazing life that is as stress-free as possible financially, so you can really focus on growing yourself and growing those around you and just being an amazing human. And that's all we want. So guys, thank you so much. Listener, love you very much. Appreciate you. And I'm excited for the next 2 topics that we're going to be discussing. So stay tuned. Appreciate you. Have a great day. Bye, guys.
If you like this episode of Big Fat Real Estate Checks, then show some love by leaving a comment and a good rating. Also, as a thank you for tuning in today, we've got a special free gift. The journey to passive cash flow for a life starts by finding deals, and it's easier than you think. Simply go to getdealsbytuesday.com, enter your email address, and we'll send you a free quick start course called Deals by Tuesday. Even if it's 11 p.m. Monday night, this course will show you how to find discounted real estate deals by Tuesday. It's that fast and simple. Go to getdealsbytuesday.com and start your journey toward life-changing cash flow today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.